While the Ukrainian forces have been launching limited counteroffensives around Kherson for months now, the recent strikes, which were made possible by Ukraine's new US-supplied high-mobility advanced rocket systems, HIMARS, appear to be the opening phase of an all-out Ukrainian offensive to retake the city. We don't know exactly when this offensive will begin, and the people who do know have no incentive to tell us. But it's likely to be sooner rather than later, perhaps in a matter of weeks. Once you disable a logistics node, or a bridge or a high-speed avenue of approach, you have to capitalize on that within a certain amount of time, Jeffrey Edmonds, an expert on the Russian military at the Center for Naval Analyses, told Grid. The precision-guided rockets that slammed into the Antonivsky Bridge across the Dnieper River in the southern region of Kherson last week may have marked the beginning of a new, high-stakes phase in the war in Ukraine. Kherson is the only provincial capital that Russian forces control, and the bridge is a vital conduit for resupplying those forces. According to Ukrainian and Western assessments, the bridge is now unusable for military traffic, and the other bridges have been struck as well. According to an assessment from Britain's Ministry of Defense, the strikes have left Russia's 49th Army, stationed on the west side of the Dnieper River, highly vulnerable and the city of Kherson virtually cut off from the occupied territories. A campaign to recapture Kherson would mark a shift in a conflict that has so far been characterized primarily by Russian offensives and Ukrainian defense. It's a high-stakes gamble for the Ukrainians, retake Kherson, and they regain control of an economically vital region, prevent a key political win for the Russians, and tie down Russian forces that could otherwise make further gains in the east. Lose, and they may waste precious weaponry, and even more precious lives for little territorial gain. It's not clear they'll have another chance. Our forces are moving into the region step by step, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said this week. Those next steps may well determine the outcome of this war. The city of Kherson straddles the Dnieper, one of Europe's longest rivers. Its pre-war population of almost 300,000 was a mix of Ukrainian and Russian speakers. Kherson was the first major city to fall to the Russian invasion, and unlike Mariupol and Severodonetsk, which were captured only after weeks of heavy fighting and virtually annihilated in the process, Kherson fell after just a few days of fighting in the early days of the war. That timing means the Russians are entrenched there. The occupiers have moved quickly to establish political control in the region, installing a new administration for the city and the surrounding region, cutting off access to Ukrainian television channels and internet service providers, and banning the use of Ukrainian currency. All indications suggest Russia is planning to formally annex the region as Russian territory, as it did with Crimea in 2014. The US government has warned that Russia is likely planning a referendum in Kherson as early as this fall. Any referendum would be dismissed as a sham by Ukrainians and the vast majority of the international community, just as the Crimean one was, but it might give Russian President Vladimir Putin more pretext to declare victory in this war. Losing Kherson, on the other hand, would be disastrous for Russia for strategic and symbolic reasons. The Russian military's early setbacks around Kiev and Kharkov were, by all accounts, disastrous for the invading forces' morale. Since then, Russia's overwhelming artillery advantage has allowed it to make slow, costly but undeniable progress in eastern Ukraine. But whatever optimism Russian forces now feel would be hard to sustain if Russia began to actually lose territory, and Kherson is a relatively large chunk of territory. A loss at Kherson would wipe one of the Russians' most unambiguous victories off the board. It would also be the type of setback that would be difficult to hide with even the most skillful propaganda. Beyond the symbolism, southern Ukraine is an agriculturally and economically vital region. Its power plants and reservoirs could potentially sustain Crimea, which has been cut off from the Ukrainian power grid and water infrastructure since 2014. And the port of Kherson could play a major role in Ukraine's efforts to restart grain shipments through the Black Sea. Russia is now believed to be relocating a significant number of troops from the eastern Donbas region to southern Ukraine in anticipation of a Ukrainian attack. Given its well-publicized personnel issues, these are troops Russia's strained military can't afford to lose. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week hit 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.